Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Tang from Hughes, and today I have the privilege of speaking with Karthik Ganesuni with Hughes. Karthik, when we talk about API integrations, what are some of the fundamentals that we need to be thinking about in terms of horizontally integrating disparate applications?
So when we're talking about like good API design, Tim, there's a couple things to think about. We're thinking both internally and externally, right? So externally, we want a good API is like one that's easy to use, right? One that's adoptable, one you can integrate quickly into your applications for customers and whatnot. But at the same time, you also want to think, hey, how friendly is it to develop? How friendly is it to scale and introduce new features and just maintain in general, right? So those are two sides of the same coin, in a sense, that we want to keep in mind when we're talking about API integration, and especially within our world, upstream, we're talking to 50, 60 different vendors, if not more, right? So, but we don't want to pass that burden on to our customers necessarily. We want them to speak to us in English, for example, and then we want to speak to the whatever vendors we're talking to upstream in whatever language that they speak. So then it becomes a question of how efficient we can do that internally, where it's friendly. It's easy for our developers to both do that and maintain that, but at the same time, make it easy for our customers to adopt our APIs.
So really, we're talking about the complexity of all these different applications having their own languages, and yet giving one kind of common user interfaces facing to the customer.
Well, that's correct. That's right.
And how do you do that? What's the...
Well, it's a design philosophy in a way, because the good thing is, again, we're not in many different domains, right? Like we're in the networking domain, for example, telecommunications, that kind of thing, right? So whatever vendors we're talking to, like, yes, they have different products, different technologies, but there is a lot of commonality with respect to how they do things, which makes our job a little easier. Yes, the APIs themselves for the vendors might be different, but we can expect a common response. For example, like, hey, give me the ARP table for different vendors across different products. You can expect the same. You're going to get a MAC address, you're going to get an IP, for example. Like, that's not ever going to change. You know what I mean? Especially like the domain we're in. So then it becomes how efficiently can we run those commands, translate that back into a response format that the customer understands, and the customer can always expect the same kind of thing. Just because they have 4 different technologies deployed in their location doesn't mean you're going to give them 3-4 different languages back. They asked us in English. We need to give it back to them in English also.
How do you operationalize this capability? How do you extract business value once you're able to do this?
So that's a good question, actually, because business value is, in my opinion, it's how efficiently we can do things. So developer time is very important. Customer, again, adoptability for our products is very important. If it's hard for people to onboard what we're selling, they're not going to want to do it. If it's hard for us to develop, and there's like the cycle to develop is really long, it's not worth it. You know what I mean? So we have to find that balance between how quickly can we push new things out into the field, and how quickly can the field start using it. That's the fine line that we're trying to balance at all times.
So once you've actually been able to get these applications to speak together, once you're able to get this common language, so can you speak to some of the visualization of the data and kind of how that can bring value to the customer?
Yeah, absolutely. So like, again, one of the key things we inherently have to do when we're speaking to all these different vendors and technologies upstream, we have to normalize a lot of this data. And that alone brings us a lot of value, because when we're normalizing it, that means we have a common data set or data that we're working with, which we can then start creating links in between multiple products, technologies, across. So that's like, that's the operational side, right? And then you tie that back to the business side. Hey, at this location, there are these devices that are running these services. And this will, in terms of visualization, like, a graph technologies is like something we've been exploring recently anyway. So what I mean by graph is we would like to graph out all the different nodes and edges in a particular customer's network, for example. Hey, what services did they buy from us? What products are enabling those services? What are then those products then tied to? Like, which ISPs, which infrastructure, just satellites, for example, like gateways, routers, which, key infrastructure components, right? So then you can then start messing around with the different components to see the ripple effect that it might have on a customer's network. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is make it easy for people to triage is, again, time is money in a sense, right? So especially with the industry that we're in and the industries that our customers are in. So downtime, that kind of thing, the faster we can identify the problem, the faster we can start trying to resolve the problem. And that's what we're trying to do. It's all about how quickly and how intelligently we can come to actionable insights.
So this is not just a matter of making it easy for our customer to basically interface with a myriad of different applications. It's also an ability to basically take data from all these applications and basically then, in the opposite direction, get the business value from the data from them.
Absolutely.
To their customers too as well.
That's right. That is right.
Karthik, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Everyone, I've been speaking with Karthik Ganesuni from Hughes, and we're coming to you from Germantown, Maryland.